Good morning and welcome to our first video message, Sunday celebration message. It's Sunday, March 22nd. So I'll read the daily word for today, which is power, and it is quite appropriate, as always, for my message. So it reads, I take dominion over my thoughts, words, and actions. The power of God protects me. Today, I hear with renewed understanding this line from James Dillard Freeman's Prayer for Protection. In a growing awareness of oneness with my source, I realize that the power of God works through me and as me, rather than simply in me or for me. I embody divine power by choosing words that affirm the truth that I am a spiritual being as I navigate the valleys and peaks of my human experience. By expressing my power, I am claiming dominion over my words and thoughts. I affirm statements of truth while releasing negative thoughts and ideas. I think and speak with the authority of my Christ presence. And from 2 Timothy 1:7, for God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline. I want to tell you a little story about a religious man who was in a flood, and he really believed in the power of God, and he knew that God was going to save him and get him through this time of the flood. So he found himself on a rooftop, and first the water was coming up. The boat came by and yelled, jump in, we're here to save you. He said, oh, don't worry about it. God will save me. You don't have to save me, God will save me. So a little bit later, water was coming up. Now the water is about to his waist. And another boat comes by and says, jump in, come on, we're here to save you. Guy says, don't worry about it. I have faith God's going to come and save me. So water's rising, it's up to his chest. Another boat comes by and says, come on, jump in quick, we'll save you. He said, no worries, I have faith, God will save me. Now the water is coming up and it's about to his chin, and a helicopter flies by. They throw out the rope ladder and he said, hang on, come on, climb in, we'll save you. It's just coming up over his mouth. He said, don't worry about it, God will save me, I have faith. Well, unfortunately, the water rose and the man drowned. He was quite disappointed. Got up to heaven and he said to St. Peter, you know, I really thought that God was going to save me. I thought I'd have a miracle. St. Peter chuckles a little bit and responds, I don't know what you're complaining about. We send you 3 boats and a helicopter. What more do you want? So it's kind of a funny story to kind of remind us that we at Unity know that all our prayers are answered. We need to be open and aware of the answer and realize that sometimes that answer doesn't always come in the way that we expected. So several weeks ago, I did a series of messages on the book called If Life is a Game, Then These Are the Rules. It presented the suggestion that everything in life can be viewed as a lesson. There are no mistakes. Nothing is wrong. We are presented with lessons to be learned. That's it. If we don't learn them when they're presented, we don't have to worry about it because they'll be repeated again and again and again. As the lessons get repeated, sometimes they get repeated a little bit more forceful. But once we learn the lesson, we don't ever have to repeat that lesson again, and we can move forward. We don't have to experience it again. We can move forward. So as we take into consideration our current situation of the coronavirus, we might also ask ourselves, what lesson is in this for me and for the world or humanity as a whole? There are several different aspects to look at metaphysically, beginning with the creation of the virus, the symptoms, the spread and effects that are produced. And it's a great topic for a message and a discussion, but unfortunately, I'm not going to do that today. We'll do that at a later date. Today, I want to talk about one of the greatest needs of the human ego is a need for certainty. It's the need to have control over our situations, to know what to expect, and to know the outcome. We want to be certain that we are safe, that we are cared for, that we are financially secure, among a lot of other things we want to be certain about. And obviously, right now, we are living in incredible times of uncertainty. We're unsure of the most vital aspects of our lives. We're unsure about our safety, our health, and the well-being of those that we love. We're uncertain about the future economically, our own status, the country, and the world. Today, I believe one of the most important things is to address how can we use our spirituality at this time to give us strength and help us overcome this pandemic. We need to be aware and prepared, but not fearful. There's a definite difference between precaution, preparation, and fear. Just as I would take precautions and not drive during a blizzard when I did not absolutely have to, we should also take precautions to stay safe and well during this pandemic. Being aware and taking precautions is just that. It's being practical, responsible, and prepared. As I mentioned before, the human ego needs certainty. However, we need to remember that we're more than just physical presence. We are spiritual beings living a human existence. The spiritual aspect of ourselves is that part of us that has faith and a reliance on a higher power. It is the part of us that knows the presence of God as protection, power, strength, and wisdom. Our Christ nature does not have to have the need for certainty of an outcome in a given situation, only the certainty of knowing the presence of God, knowing our connection with oneness. And when we are certain of our connection of oneness with a higher power, then we trust in all outcomes. So much is going on today with new reports worldwide on almost a minute-to-minute basis. Since the need for the human ego is to experience a sense of certainty, it is all of this uncertainty about the coronavirus and our future that has been producing an enormous increase in stress and fear. Jesus assured us by saying, "Peace is what I leave you. It is my peace that I give you. I do not give it as the world does. Do not be worried and upset. Do not be afraid." There have been several studies and an increasing amount of research into the effects of continuous stress and fear and what it does to our bodies. I always say, I love when science starts proving the woo-woo. However, as my scientific-minded daughter reminds me, it never really proves the woo-woo. It just merely shows evidence for it. Nothing is really proven. But Buddha once said the secret to existence is to have no fear. Marie Curie once said, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." We know that fear elicits the fight or flight response, flooding the body with adrenaline. Blood flow is sent to the muscles for increased strength to run or fight, taking the blood flow away from those organs responsible for our immune system. Since we can't run away from the virus, and there's really nothing to physically fight, our fear response really does absolutely no good. Furthermore, as adrenaline hits our brains, our amygdala starts to override our rational reactions. Now, your amygdala is that small, almond-sized portion of your brain. It's also known as the reptilian brain, and it's focused on survival and most of the time not necessarily logic. When we are in fear, we close ourselves up to our spiritual guidance and rational thinking. There have been many scientific studies on stress also, showing evidence that it actually depletes our immune system and reduces our ability to fight off diseases and infection. The stress hormone, called corticosteroids, suppresses the effectiveness of the immune system by lowering the number of lymphocytes, and lymphocytes are one of the white blood cells effective for helping us fight off infection. So basically, with all this research, the bottom line is, if we allow fear and stress of this current situation to consume us, we're actually bringing to us the exact circumstances that we do not want. A depleted immune system, more vulnerable to infection, and a brain that can't help us make rational decisions in preparation and action. Our own fear and stress are the only enemies that we need to overcome. All the great spiritual leaders, including Jesus, constantly reminded us of this. Fear not. Even without the scientific evidence, he was aware that fear in most situations is not helpful, except if we would need to be fleeing or fighting a wild animal as our ancestors did. Wayne Dyer once said, "When you squeeze an orange, the only thing that comes out is orange juice." In this time of uncertainty in our world, our community and we as individuals are being squeezed. The question is, what is coming out, fear or faith? If fear is coming out as we get squeezed, then we need to overcome it with faith. So how do we do that? How can we lessen our fear and anxiety and stress in this time of uncertainty? When we're in a time of uncertainty, things that we never came across before, I always feel that it's good to go back to basics. So back to basics is practicing the Unity's 5 basic principles and apply them to our current situation. So Unity of Reading, 5 spiritual principles is number 1, God is absolute good and everywhere present. 2, we are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. 3, we are co-creators with God, creating reality through our thoughts. 4, through affirmative prayer and meditation, we connect with God and bring out the good in our lives. 5, knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. So when we look at the first one, God is absolute good and everywhere present. To believe that there's only one power and one present active in the universe and in my life, God the good omnipotent. To know that God is the source and the creator of all. There is no other enduring power. God is good and present everywhere. If we could truly, truly believe that, how differently would life be? How differently would we look at this situation? We know that nothing has meaning or power on its own. Power and meaning of anything comes from what we give it. I remember when I first started on my spiritual journey, I had lots of life situations going on, which made me very anxious and fearful. My job was in jeopardy. My marriage was on the rocks. I had some relationship issues with my oldest daughter. It seemed like life was just falling apart. I had a spiritual coach who was the interim minister at Unity of Reading, Reverend Sharon Marcourt, and she was awesome. I always would whine and complain about everything that was going on. And she finally said, "You know what, Nancy? Isn't it time to stop telling God how big your problems are and start telling your problems how big God is?" That advice really hit me, and I still use that today. We need to stop giving our power to this virus and to the fear it is producing and start giving our power back to where it belongs. We need to affirm and know the healing energy of the universe, God, or source, whatever you want to call it. We need to know that that is the greatest power, and that power is within each and every one of us. As we begin affirming that power within ourselves, we take away any power that the virus has over us and any fear which it produces. When we can affirm our faith in a power greater than the virus, we will see the virus losing its grip and dissipating. So again, how do we do this? The 4th Unity principle is through affirmative prayer, meditation, we connect with God and bring out the good in our lives. In Unity, we use affirmative prayer, which is a form of prayer or a metaphysical technique that is focused on a positive outcome rather than a negative situation. So basically, affirmative prayer is creative thinking that heightens the connection with God and therefore brings forth wisdom, healing, prosperity, and everything good. Through affirmative prayer and meditation, we connect with God and bring out the good in our lives. There's power in affirmative prayer, which we believe increases our connection to God. Jesus even taught us, "Therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them." We have to believe. We have to ask for what we want, and we have to believe it has already happened. For instance, a person who has experienced some illness or some form of illness should focus the prayer on the desired state of health and affirm this desire intention as if it already happened, rather than identifying the illness and asking God to help eliminate it. Our prayers and meditation at this time need to focus on what we want, not on what we don't want. I invite you to meditate and pray in gratitude for the health that you are currently experiencing, for the current prosperity in your life, for all those things that you love, for all those people around you that are supporting you and loving you, for all those things for which you are grateful, and continue your prayer and meditation with gratitude for all those things to continue in your life, in our community, and in our world. For as Jesus taught, as we believe, so we shall have. Our daily word is so appropriate this time. It talks about the power of God protects me. Do we really, really believe that? I encourage you to read today's daily word several times and let those words permeate every cell of your being until you get into that feeling of peace and truly know there is only one power and one present in my life. Therefore, there is nothing at all to fear. So in this time of uncertainty, I encourage everyone to practice precautions, follow the guidelines to keep us physically safe, but also remember the most important practice you can do is to practice the presence of God. Take the extra time that you have now to increase your meditation and prayer time. If you do not meditate or don't know how, at least practice breathing exercises and relaxation. When you feel stress, anxiety, or fear coming on you, consciously attend to your breathing. Conscious breathing always brings us back to the present and away from stress and fear. I'd like you to take a moment and try it now. As you focus on your breathing, breathe in and say, "The presence of God protects me." And as you breathe out, relax and say, "I am safe." The presence of God protects me, and I am safe. Do this several times a day, especially when you're feeling stressed or fearful. As we control our breathing and we slow down our breathing, we automatically become calmer. This resets our system. It begins to allow us to accept the life the way it is, and it opens our mind up to higher guidance. I encourage you to identify what you're feeling, including the feelings underneath the feelings, which are deeper and more true. Not to stuff the feelings, but to feel the feelings, acknowledge them, see where they're coming from, and then shine light on them. For as we get into a deeper level of feelings, we can get into a deeper level of peace. Our thoughts attract more of the same kind of thoughts. If we have negative thoughts of fear and stress, it'll just continue an escalate of those kind of thoughts. So we need to stop that. We need to stop that perseverating on those thoughts and really question, what is it that I'm fearful of? What is it? And a lot of times, once we can really verbalize it or write it down and break the loop of that negativity, and then we can move forward and experience a different thing, a different feeling. We can bring light to and expose some of our irrational fears, and we can begin replacing them with faith. Accept where we are. Accept where we are and know that we are experiencing uncertainty, but even in the experience of uncertainty, we can get to that place of peace. For one big thing that I learned on my spiritual journey is I had the choice of what thoughts I thought. I could choose my thoughts, and my thoughts are what cause my emotion. So I can choose thoughts that give me fear, or I can choose thoughts that give me peace. I love, A Course in Miracles says, whenever you get stressed or angry or fearful or whatever, say to yourself, I could choose peace instead of this. As we have those thoughts that bring us fear and stress, say, I could choose peaceful thoughts instead of this. And as we focus on peaceful thoughts, those will be given to us and shown us also. And lastly, feel your deep connection with God, for we use this time as a lesson. We can use this time to increase our faith, to use this time to really know who we are and where our power lies. Buddha reminds us, the secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn the past, not to worry about the future, or anticipate troubles, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly. To enjoy good health, to bring true happiness to one's own family, to bring peace to all, one must find first discipline and control one's own mind. If a man can control his mind, he can find the way to enlightenment, and all wisdom and virtue will naturally come to him. It's not focusing on the past, oh, poor us, look what we lost. It's not fear of the future, but it's enjoying the present moment, no matter what situation we're in. Enjoying those people around us, enjoying the love, enjoying everything that's supporting us. The Bible also reminds us, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. The more that we feel connected to God, the more peace we feel. The more separated, the more that we live in fear and in uncertainty. I heard that at one time that there was a fine line between a long sermon and a hostage situation. So even though I don't consider my messages to be sermons, rather messages, I won't get even close to the hostage situation, hopefully. So I'll end my message with the powerful words from the prayer of protection from the Unity author and poet James Dillard Freeman. We always say the first verse of this poem in closing our physical celebrations at Unity, but I'm going to read the whole poem. And as I read it, I want these words to sink into your mind, sink into your heart, and know the power of God is greater than the power of any virus or any uncertainty. The prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. The mind of God guides you. The life of God flows through you. The laws of God direct you. The peace of God abides within you. The joy of God uplifts you. The strength of God renews you. The beauty of God inspires you. Wherever you are, God is. And wherever God is, all truly is well. I thank you for attending our virtual celebration today, and I invite you back for future messages and inspiration. And of course, we would love to see you physically once we can start holding our Sunday celebrations at our physical location and temple again. Until then, until next time, or until then, stay safe. Know that wherever you are, God is, and that wherever God is, all truly is well. And so it is. Bye-bye.